Good evening, everyone. I'm Trevor.
And I'm Anthony.
We're here to talk to you about transmedia proposals. But first, before we talk about that, we got to talk about our current situation, which is, sorry, still boring. Basically, it's just a long bed of text. It's going to take a while to get through to process the information. But there are a few things that we like about proposals too.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, you hate to have to deliver them on pallets and things like that, but we do like the linear structure of a traditional proposal. As much as we kind of hate the format, we do like the linear fashion because we want people to get the right information at the right time in the right amounts. And if they're able to kind of jump around, we're not quite sure that they're going to get everything that they need at the right times. So we don't want to totally trash the traditional proposal. We do want to take that and kind of take it as a best practice and maybe work with that.
A proposal is basically an argument. So if the client is left to their own devices, then they're creating their version of your argument. But we want you to create your own argument, just in a different format than paper. Which brings us to the transmedia experience.
And we'll explain about what transmedia is.
This right here is an example of a multimedia thing.
Yeah.
Where you have one topic and you have each different format. So you have photos, you have web pages, you have videos, and you have sound, all telling their own version of the one story, but they're all separate from each other.
In a transmedia world, you have part one, maybe graphics, animations, things like that, or part three, maybe animations. You may have sound to go to part two, and in part four, maybe movie or something like that. So they each kind of have a part of the story. No, you don't get the complete story from graphics, you don't get the complete story from animation, you don't get the complete story from sound or narration or anything like that. They each kind of have their own little niche. It's like having a novel. We've all read novels where you have one character knows this, they know who murdered somebody. And then you have the character, the detective, and they think they know, and they each kind of have their own viewpoints, and they each kind of assemble a complete story. And I think that's a good way to kind of think about this, is each of these mediums all have a little piece of the story. They know who murdered someone. They know, who snuck the key into underneath the doormat or whatever.
A couple of examples of transmedia proposals. This right here is a version of Microsoft Smart Glass. Basically, it's a new app that allows you to interact with Microsoft videos and video games with your tablet devices and PCs. Basically, you can take any tablet device. They're still working on iOS, but they have Android and also other different operating systems. Where, say, if you're watching Snow White and the Huntsman, I don't know why you would be, but if you were, and a certain scene came up, you would have sort of cast information that pops up, maybe behind the scenes video telling you about a difficult scene. Then also right here you see one friend's playing a video game while another friend is inexplicably holding his phone and telling him the map. But it allows different mediums and different presentations to work together to enrich the experience and make everyone that's involved feel more immersed into it. Anyone that watches Walking Dead, they're going to have advertisements throughout the show showing that the story scene. Basically, you take your tablet device, and while the show is playing in real time, it would input sort of like new polls so you can see what everyone thinks. Should they have killed that guy? I don't know. If there was like a particularly gruesome kill, they would show a video of the director and the visual director working together to try to make that scene work together, and you can see how everything sort of comes together, and it makes you feel more involved with the process as it's going on.
Yeah, so we've talked about how transmedia kind of works. You've got maybe the tablet telling one part of the story, the actual TV show telling you another. And I want to give a quick example of how you can do that with the new capabilities in HTML5. They worked in video and audio into that. And I actually found out that the cool thing about this is that since you're not necessarily relying on YouTube, it worked on these computers because they filter out YouTube. So we were actually able to get to it even not having to use a proxy or anything like that. Yes, okay.
This right here is a sort of interactive video made by Arcade Fire and Visual Director. They worked with Google to sort of show off what they could do with Google Chrome. This is back in 2010, so we watched this, imagine what you can do 2 years later. Right now, he's putting into the this building's address, and you'll figure out why, but that's sort of what the client will be doing. They're sending their RFP, they're sending you all of their information, and keeping in line with the liquid content. Go ahead and play. We're going to show them how they can take their personal information.
We'll just speak louder.
It's not that good at song. But it's showing how you can take personal information, you can put it into a business template, and it seems like it's their personal presentation.
Yeah, and the great thing about it is you notice how fast it loaded. So say you're a city manager, and you know the city of Marble Falls, they already have a slow internet connection, or else why would they be coming to AT&T? So even if they have, you know, one of your competitors where things aren't as fast, maybe they're on older equipment, it's still going to work. And you notice also that even though this was done with Google and it was designed to show the capabilities of their Chrome browser, this is Firefox. It works perfectly fine.
So right here you can see you have the main video right here, and then you have separate videos popping up in certain places, all dictated by the audio. So everything is very timed. So right here we have the map near the building. And pretty soon what you see is you'll see this main character running from screen to screen, and you can see it all above this information. So while you have the basic information right here, you can see very specific information and perspectives popping up around it.
Very cool.
I mentioned this was made with absolutely no plugins. It is purely JavaScript and HTML.
Yep. So this is not, even though Google Maps is in there, you don't have to necessarily do anything with that. You could also use, I'm sure, Bing or Yahoo Maps, whoever you have a good working relationship with. I think this is probably one of the coolest parts.
You might be disoriented, you can sell that.
So as we said, this was made using Google Chrome Experience. Basically, they just gave out information with HTML5 and just gave artists anything that they can do with this. So as you can see, there's different experiments. There's one where you can make a game to help typing. So all of this, again, no plugins. And then right here is sort of like a visual demonstration of all the different things you can do, and you can input whatever you want, the width, the color, the rotation speed, anything you want you can put into there. So everything that's happening is dictated by the client.
Yeah, and it's great that you bring up the Chrome experiments, because even though they did have an experienced music director conduct that music video and arrange that and everything, some of these experiments are really cool. We went through there and looked through them, and they're just people who maybe are artists or something, but I would imagine a lot of people just kind of did this on their spare time as a hobby. It's nothing, there's no real software or anything like that. So I thought that was really cool that kind of your average person was able to create some of these experiments and just kind of mess around with it. And like I said, I think it's great that you have some interactivity there.
So there's a lot of art examples, there's a lot of game examples, and as I said, since there's no plugins or there's free browsers, there's no barrier to entry. One thing we realized is that there's no business that's fully embraced this, and we want AT&T to sort of lead the charge with this presentation.
So we've got kind of an example of what things could look like. Maybe you have an intro video, maybe your CEO saying, you know, welcome to our proposal. Maybe with the Royal Caribbean, how you had, you know, a CEO come in and say, you know, we're AT&T, we want to do this for you. Things like that, just kind of as an executive summary, and as a welcoming. You want always kind of want to welcome people in, invite them in, and give them a quick orientation about what you're going to cover, and maybe too, like what to expect. As we talked about earlier, or as somebody talked about earlier, maybe give them a little bit of an orientation. You know, things are going to be popping up. It's okay. It's cool. Things like that.
And sort of In keeping in line with sort of the real world creating example, he used a lot of second person. Welcome to the presentation. We want to work with you.
Right.
This is also a good way to sort of reuse your content. So if you didn't want to keep everything as personalized as a liquid content for the paper proposal, you can reuse a lot of interviews with CEOs and different representatives, so you can keep using that for content. And then if need be, if you had a very particular large client, you can always switch other videos for something more specialized.
When you have a big project like that, you want to keep it under wraps. You want to keep it secure. AT&T has the hosting, they have the bandwidth, they have the means to password protect this and all that. So security, I don't think would be the biggest concern. You could work around that.
And we're thinking you can either send the login information, because they'll need to know the address, their username and password, since each username and password is going to take them directly to their proposal instead of just a site where they have to search around for the proposal. So you could either send that information through email, or if you want to be even more secure, you could always send it on just a letter through certified mail. So you could also give a receipt showing that the person received a proposal and they have all the information they need.
And if you can give some kind of physical gift, you can certainly do that. So this is an example. This is kind of plain, but imagine you could use Bing, you could use Google Maps, you could use whatever. Here's your competitor's network, just looking at the colors. I think we all know who it is. We say, okay, your competitor's network, yeah, they take your information to say Vegas to Boston, but they're X gigabytes a second. That's their bandwidth. That's all they can offer you. But you maybe should